Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the Players NIL Just Thinking podcast. My name is Mark Koesterer, and I'm the founder of the Players NIL. We are the industry-leading educational platform designed exclusively to support athletes in their NIL journey. We are not an agency. We do not collect commissions. We do not make deals. We do not report deals. We simply educate athletes on the opportunity that name, image, and likeness legislation has created. Once again, we're focused on the 98%, not the 2% who are getting money for running fast and jumping high or for being involved with a collective on their respective college campuses. No, we've involved with and we focus on working with athletes who need to create a brand for return on investment partnerships. Remember, 80% of NIL deals are based on social media, 60% are based on local businesses. So with that framework, I'd just like to share a few thoughts about all the news that's going on. Last week, we had a judge make a preliminary ruling on the agreement between the plaintiff attorneys and the NCAA, commonly referred to as House versus NCAA. For those of you who don't know, essentially this is a commingling of three separate lawsuits brought about by plaintiffs attacking the NCAA and asking the NCAA to remove restrictions, particularly on athlete compensation, reporting, and the total amount of money that can be compensated towards athletes. The judge in her ruling suggested that the NCAA and the plaintiff attorneys go back, revisit their negotiations. She specifically called out the clause that was going to suggest and implore a board to review NIL deals to decide whether they were a fair market value or not. I'm not an attorney, nor am I an expert on this legislative process, but my understanding and my belief is that the judge made the ruling because it was too restrictive for NIL athletes. That's a little bit about what's going on in the world in terms of the 2%ers. The 98% continue to get a footing. I hear from athletes every day who are building a brand, creating opportunities. I hear from schools who are not part of the collective money distribution process, trying to figure out how do they empower their athletes, how can they and when can they engage to create those opportunities. I spoke with a Division II athletic director last week who has not yet embraced NIL, nor has he employed any of the NIL brands for partnership. Yet he told me that they recently lost a basketball recruit to a competitor in conference for a $5,000 NIL deal. That's right, a Division II men's basketball player made a decision to leave one school and go to another in the recruiting process for $5,000. While it may not seem like a lot of money for a Division II athlete who potentially is on athletic scholarship, that's quite a bit of spending money. And so the athletic director that I was speaking to admitted that it's time to pay attention, understand the options, the opportunities. And I challenged him with this mindset. How long was he going to wait for a coach to come into his office and say that they were sitting on the couch of a prospective student athlete during the recruiting process? And the parents asked a very simple question. What is your NIL policy? Unfortunately, more and more every day, if that answer is we don't have one, if that answer is I don't know, then they are at risk for losing that student athlete's commitment. So I believe that it's going to grow, going to continue to grow, going to expand into the 98% even deeper. But again, this is not a large amount of money. $5,000 is probably not life-changing, but it is lifestyle changing to a college athlete. And so we're focused on that college athlete creating opportunities with their local business in their hometown, their local business in their college community. The second thing I want to share and talk about today is we just finished the first 2 weeks of college football. Perhaps last weekend was the real kickoff with rivalries, some upsets, and some great games being played. And I wonder to myself, just like we just finished the kickoff for the NFL, how many contracts are being rethought? How many athletes were paid, were recruited, were given a long-term contract in the NFL, and now the coach, the general manager, the owner, maybe more importantly, the fans are wondering, why did we give that player that much money? So a little bit of buyer's remorse, perhaps. And that's going to happen in college athletics. Unfortunately, there's a big difference between a 3-year or 4 or 5-year deal in the NFL with guaranteed money and cap hit on the NFL team's annual allowance for salaries. Then the college athlete who may have signed a lucrative NIL deal, he or she, and unfortunately out of the gates, in the eyes of many, underperformed or did not live up to those expectations. Unlike the NFL, where there is a guaranteed portion, in the NIL world, it's only a 1-year contract at best. Perhaps it's only a 6-month contract. And perhaps, although it's not supposed to be tied to performance, if that athlete is no longer on the field because of their performance, what would their NIL value be to the team and NIL value be to the collective? And so I wonder, as this NIL space has grown and as we have gotten out of control with the amount of money being paid to college athletes, will there be buyer's remorse in college? And what will be the consequences? What will happen to an athlete that no longer fulfills the expectations of the collective, the coach, or the community at large, otherwise known as fans? It'll be interesting to watch. The 98% don't have to worry about that because we're creating real value. There's a value in your social media presence. There's a value in your community involvement, engagement, and the fans that you bring to the table and the relationships that you do. So we're not worried about this NCAA legislation or the buyer's remorse. But I just thought I'd share some ideas on the Just Thinking part of my YouTube channel. You can follow us at the Players NIL on YouTube, as always on social media at the Players NIL. And of course, follow me on LinkedIn, Mark Koesterer. And we thank you for participating and listening. And we wish every student athlete out there much success and a bright and great, amazing future. As always, have a great day. And as I like to say, today is another chance to be awesome. Thank you for listening.